because we have so much wonderful history in this building, in this house. For example, I hear people really concerned around this building, around the Supreme Court across the way, around Capitol Hill here, about someone, my goodness, praying in public. Well, we begin every day. We're in session here in the House, and the Senate's in session with a prayer. Many are ignorant of the place from which that tradition started, where it came. You have to go back to 1787, the Constitutional Convention. The Constitutional Convention, people may recall, it began in 1787 as a result of the failure of the Articles of Confederation. And for those that know history, they would know that the revolution was won in 1783. There was the Treaty of Paris, in which England finally recognized the United States' right to exist as a nation. And George Washington did something that had never been done in the history of mankind before or since then, and that is lead a revolutionary military, win the revolution, and then resign and go home. When he could be Caesar, he could be king, emperor, whatever. That was not his goal. His goal, as he said, was to do his duty to God, basically, and his country, kind of like the Scout Law, the Scout Oath, rather. Anyway, here they are in Philadelphia, independence, 1787. It's June. Benjamin Franklin is 80 years old. Now, many people say, well, we know he was a deist from history. That means he believed there was a creator out there, but that he believed God, the creator, created things and then stood back and let everything happen, and that he never interfered. Well, those who also know history know that there were times in his life where Benjamin Franklin sowed some wild seeds, and that included some in Europe and in England. But by the time of the Constitutional Convention there in Independence Hall in Philadelphia, 1787, Benjamin Franklin was between 2 and 3 years away from meeting his judge, meeting his maker. And he knew that. He was as brilliant as ever, as witty, amazing man, the genius that he was. And there he sits, and there's a picture right outside the House floor depicting that area in Independence Hall where they were meeting. Now, in the beautiful painting, the windows are open. Well, the windows were covered. May have been by blankets instead of the beautiful lined curtains depicted in the scene. But for nearly 5 weeks, they went without accomplishing much of anything. Finally, the 80-year-old Ben Franklin rose, was recognized by the president of the Constitutional Convention, George Washington. And we have these words because James Madison recorded them as secretary of that convention. These are the exact words of Benjamin Franklin, June 28, 1787, in Philadelphia during the Constitutional Congress. Benjamin Franklin said, "Mr. President, the small progress we have made after 4 or 5 weeks' close attendance and continual reasonings with each other, our different sentiments on almost every question, several of the last producing as many noes as ayes, is, methinks, a melancholy proof of the imperfection of human understanding. We indeed seem to feel our own want of political wisdom. Since we have been running about in search of it, we have gone back to ancient history for models of government and examined the different forms of those republics, which, having been formed with the seeds of their own dissolution, now no longer exist. And we have viewed modern states all around Europe, but find none of their constitutions suitable to our circumstances. In this situation of this assembly, groping as it were in the dark to find political truth and scarce able to distinguish it when presented to us, how has it happened, sir, that we have not hitherto once thought of humbly applying to the Father of lights to illuminate our understanding. In the beginning contest with Great Britain, when we were sensible of danger, we had daily prayer in this room. Our prayers, sir, were heard, and they were graciously answered. All of us who were engaged in the struggle must have observed frequent instances of a superintending providence in our favor. To that kind providence, we owe this happy opportunity of consulting in peace on the means of establishing our future national felicity. And have we now forgotten that powerful friend? Or do we imagine that we no longer need his assistance? Ben Franklin goes on and says, I have lived, sir, a long time, and the longer I live, the more convincing proofs I see of this truth, that God governs in the affairs of men. And if a sparrow cannot fall to the ground without his notice, is it probable that an empire can rise without his aid? We have been assured, sir, in the sacred writings that, quote, except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain that build it, unquote. I firmly believe this. And I also believe that without his concurring aid, we shall succeed in this political building no better than the builders of Babel. We shall be divided by our little partial local interests. Our projects will be confounded, and we ourselves shall become a reproach and a byword down to future age.